Hello, everyone. Hope everybody is doing good, and I believe everybody is safe and healthy. Uh, in our previous sessions, I had discussed about and shared my opinion on the Unit One, Unit Two about international business management, its natures, and its how to implement it, how to enter, and how to find out the modes to enter into international market. And I was just going through the same topics, and I thought globalization, then GATT, under GATT, how did WTO, that is World Trade Organization, has founded. So I would just discuss about it. Let me start with globalization. Globalization is, as these words explain, or these paragraphs explain, the overview. Globalization is selling and buying the products or services that you or your company has designed or produced across other nations. And since 1990, for the past 2 3 decades, this terminology has gained a momentum rapidly. To tell you quickly what globalization for the current generation or the current trend, uh, it helps you uh, interact or communicate with other nations. That can be technology, that can be uh, other modes of communication. So, of course, I mean, international business management is talks about it very specifically in the coming sessions. This is just for the overview or the concept, or get an idea that how this works and why it is needed. And here, as it says, China and India are the great examples for us to see what globalization did for developing countries. Of course, China was there in the 1990s. It started recognizing across the nations, and it was a founding member of many uh, the world trade related organizations to discuss and bring it to the people concerned among it for the seamless process of international business, or making more profits in the international markets, or when they are uh, uh, going under losses, or when they are not making uh, expected or anticipated profits across the markets. They had to go to these organizations of international bodies. That way, yes, technology, I can say, it started in 1990. Before that, most of the nations were not familiar to this. Since computerization uh, saw its rapid scale up economically, uh, or internally, this helped many countries. As I've told you earlier, the two countries that we can pick is China and India. If we look back, or China looks back into the history of 20, 30 years or 2 3 decades, it could easily say that yes, this has gained a momentum, and it has globalization has helped China. Globalization, which also gives an advantages to a particular country in terms of uh, checking out or reducing the complexity of the regulations, especially when you're doing an international business, or when you selling the especially service based products. It is started with data centers. I can give you a pretty good examples. We in Asia we never used to have data centers to store our data, or the data that we communicate. Of course, on those times it used to be very less compared to the present situation, but still it had a very big market, and people used to make uh, huge profits on this. In 1996, VSNL started having their own data centers in India. Likewise, even China started it with their own uh, government initiated data centers. So this way, now if you see, every now and then every country in the universe trying to bring their own regulations to curb the data mishandling or access to the other countries, mostly to your rival countries. When they have access to your data, it is very problematic. So India has also started telling Facebook, particularly Facebook and Google, that they should have their local data centers where the the whole communicated data or the files has to be stored here, especially the public data, the customers' data. That is one way. Let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of globalization. Definitely, your economy grows. Examples are uh, two countries, that is being India and China. There are many other countries we can take examples, but very significantly, these two countries gained a, a lot of profits on it. Country wise, yes, countries saw a lot of economic growth. We say economical scale. It is really huge. Then you learned many things from other countries due to the internet and the communicating tools. Let it be mobile phones, laptops, and the languages, the technical languages that people have learned and learn to communicate verbally, learn to communicate in a written language. That can be Windows or any other examples that you can take. Apart from this, you can say many people got educated. Your education system got improved. Now you have every 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 80 students out of 100 going ahead and trying to learn the computing languages. Then those days it used to be only uh, technical based IITs and IIMs, but now every college, every university will have hundreds of thousands of students going ahead and learning this. Uh, as far as I know, India is the best example. You go to any tier two, tier three towns, you will see people using smartphones, people using uh, every type of the applications on their phones. You see people using spreadsheets, even in small stores. People are using Amazon, Flipkart, other other e-commerce applications. So these are the advantages. These are the biggest advantages that a country gains, especially technology and its education. And now India is one of the major countries which is providing technical educated employees across the globe. And disadvantages, as I told you, yes, data. People have come to know what is India and how to utilize the manpower here. If you see, uh, at least 40 to 50% of Indian educated, IT educated candidates or people who are seeking employment, they move to developed countries. That is one. Every kid's goal is to passion is to move to US or UK, uh, or any developed country, I should say, because they think people and the companies and the society, the governments are uh, more pro. They're providing better platforms for these people. They think they grow faster, and the stability in terms of the market, in terms of the lifestyle. So this is another disadvantage, I can say. Otherwise, not not lot many. Yeah. So basically, globalization is nothing. You share your technology, you share your products into other countries. International business, and this, if you compare, what is the difference between globalization is you not only deal your business, or you not only deal with yeah, now you don't sell your products or services to only one or two countries. It is globally. You can get into any company. So you have internet. If the government is allowed to a search engine like Google or Yahoo, Twitter, excuse me, then you have LinkedIn, entrepreneurial uh, social site. So through this, you communicate with anybody and everybody across the globe. This, you're just a click away, and you get to see many blogs writing a professor from outside. You don't have to go to, before you, when it wasn't here, you have to go to UK or US, buy those books, maybe China, Germany, Japan. These things would help you now. Now you can know what is happening on the other end instantly. It has become live. This uh, this has really helped. That is globalization. Now, anyways, having said this, I haven't completed what exactly globalization, not got into the specifics and the real examples of it. Anyways, in the coming lessons or topics, we will be discussing this in detail. Uh, yeah, thank you. Let's move on to GAT now. Yeah, after completing the globalization, now let's move on to GAT. It is again related to the globalization. I can say what made globalization to come into the form. So GATT is a general agreement on tariffs and trade. So it has happened between 23 countries in the initial stage when when India when India got its independence. Before, it used to be under British rule. So India got its independence. So very next, very uh, immediately, they were one of the founding members of GATT, and they most of the Indian politicians and business entrepreneurs who used to be there in US, and they had the knowledge of it, including then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and other Asian country majors. They formed this. Initially, they were 23 countries. They wanted to govern the international market business and have their own terms and rules while dealing with their products and the services. So it has happened in 48, and it ended in 19. Even now, if you see the World Trade Organization, most of the points, most of the subject, the content that the or the agreement points that you see, it is drawn from the GATT, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade that started initially. Uh, to go back and see why this has happened or why people or countries wanted to form this body of governing. Before that, in 1900s, 19th century, started from 1900 to 1930, 40. So between the countries, there was no proper agreements. So what used to happen is developing countries or underdeveloped countries used to have their own products and services on their own way. They used to dump their products in their international destinations or the markets. For example, textile. India used to produce a lot of silk and textile related products. So they used to take it and go sell it to international markets. And that is a good. Everybody wanted to sell and when everybody wanted to, make sales. But the problem, though, the issue raised when there was no barriers. There was no standard rules that how much to be sold and whom to be sold. And it means where to sell and whom to sell. So India and imagine US had an agreement that we come and give you, and they don't tell it to other international players that how much you're selling it for. So they used to sell it for very less because India was an underdeveloped country, and a country like India, even Bangladesh, they used to sell to any government. So to curb this, to bring this into standard rules and regulations, so certain countries came into, especially US, they come and started discussing between them and found the general agreement of tariffs and trade, whether to give tariffs or not, whether to do a trading between this country or not. These were discussed and found the general agreement on tariffs. Under this, what is if you wonder what is the difference between GATT and WTO? GATT, as I've told you, there was almost a free trading. Nobody had any say. Nobody used to command. It is between two countries or three countries. They used to have their own bilateral, multilateral, and unilateral agreements. Bilateral is uh, between two countries. If US and Germany has has a bilateral agreement that Germany gives all their motor cars or whatever they produce, they only sell it to US. Or US produces, US is a capital intensive economy. So US used to invest most of its capital in Germany and its companies. So what about the other developing countries? What about other developed countries like Canada and other? So these guys raised questions. I just took that example as a it is a hypothetical way. So it used to happen between a poor country and a developed country. So they had no particular tariffs or trade agreements between them. All they used to say that we have an agreement, we do that. Then multilateral is more than three companies. So two, three countries, they may find it geographically very neighboring countries. So it is easy for them and seamless for them to transport or import or export goods. So that way they never used to go far away. But the need and demand was there more in the other countries, geographically far away. But uh, so now, since GATT has come into picture, if somebody is having a problem or an issue, they can go to GATT and then they can explain it to the GATT people. The board of directors or members from all the countries will be present. There will be quarterly or yearly meetings will be held, so you can go and explain your problems. So they used to find this, but GATT never used to address the issues when bilateral or multilateral, less number of people having their own agreements. They never used to address this, but and they also did not have those elaborated rights to tell somebody or to command somebody to do this, do that. So when it comes to WTO, this organization had very potential people with strong ethical backgrounds. So they used to come and sit there and command. From 73 to 84, still 90s, there was a lot of uh, current account deficits had happened. Current accounts, in the sense, developing countries used to export a lot. I mean, export less and import very much. So this ratio gave them in a longer term. Shorter term, it was a win-win situation. But later, it has happened like you import a lot, though you do not have the demand in your country, but export less. So when you have to pay them the debts, you have to tax your people. When you put more tax to your country people or people living in your nation, in the longer term, for a couple of years or in a half a decade, what happens is you will have a lot of fiscal deficit. So that has experience. I mean, most of the companies experience, including US. They there is a story on record that US had lost 804 billion dollars. So that was a uh, huge money at that point of time. Even 2007, they had a lot of current account deficits because they used to receive a lot and they used to send very less, even after WTO coming into picture. So even 2014 we had experienced this. I do not know particularly, but here and there you could hear this. But it is comparatively a very strong organization, and it would now it is in a position to put penalties on a particular country if it crosses the rules or regulations signed by every country in the as a United Nations and all this. So it has come to certain uh, certain situation where they can command, and countries do not bypass these rules. So they obey with all the rules and regulations, and uh, every now and then they will have meetings, universal meetings, and so this is fine. That is the advantages of why GATT has happened, and after that why WTO come into picture. About WTO, we would again discuss about it in 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 deep or in detail, because GATT has come and GATT has gone. Who else is now? I mean, so in that regard, I thought of just giving you the connection. GATT is formed in 47, 48, and It is now called as World Trade Organization. So we can discuss more about it in the future. So now let's move on to, yeah. If you haven't seen this, you can check this out. Now we have 164 members in this World Trade Organization. 23 are the observer governments. They don't have any role to play here, but still they observe and they can vote if at all there is an election or they want a consensus on a particular topic uh, pertaining to international issues between countries. So this is at 164. Almost all the countries coming to this organization, this body of uh, a court or something. We can say court, like is a global organization, manages commerce between its members nations. Then primary function is to manage a smooth flow of global trade by ensuring countries abide by their signed trade agreements. As such, it also investigates and resolves trade disputes. Yeah, like I've told you, if at all two countries come with issues, you can just go and appeal to the body of regulations, body of members. You can show your documentation that the agreement was formed like this. Now we are experiencing these are the things, and that, yeah, like I was telling you, the WTO was born out of GATT. So most of the points are here with World Trade Organization. This is an international trade agreement signed by 23 countries in 47. Now we have more than 160 countries. Let's move to Portal Diamond. Porter's Diamond is a formula, I can say. People used to, in 76, 77, since 74, 73, Michael Porter is famous and well known across international markets and international business studies. He used to uh, assist many economists, he assists many countries. Even now, he is uh, available. He's 73, 74 years old now, and he's a Harvard Business School's professor, very, very well known guy. And he's been helping many MNC companies what to do, what not to do, and if somebody wants to invest more money, billions of rupees, many capital investors would go to him, venture capitalists would go and talk to him, discuss with him. He's into the picture and he's very active. And there are critics as well. At the end of this, we will discuss why his formula would not work the same way that it works for certain country. That is also there. So he has four formulas, namely five that government. This thing you can count or you cannot count, but still I would tell you. But four are the major uh, determinants. If these factors came into your organization, you would definitely be a successful MNC or successful company. You not only do business in your own country, but also win over other people, win over other customers on the international market. First, he would talk about factor conditions. Factor conditions are nothing but the position of a factor production. Like even in the Adam Smith's the formula, we spoke about it. If you remember, we discussed about it. So here says naturally whatever comes to you for a country, you may be having a natural resources, a very fertile land which produces uh, good vegetables or good fruits, good grains across multiple seasons, which is not possible on the other geographical regions or any other country. So that is one of the gifts, gifts we can say, natural gifts, which is not distributed by nature in equal to all the countries. So if you happen to be, we can say, he also in his book he says, by luck or by chance, he says, he uses those words. So that's why I'm taking this liberty and telling you, by luck you may get this, and by land, when you say, uh, you may not see natural calamities that other countries see, and you're lucky in that way. You don't see landslides. You don't have you know maximum area, much ocean covered land. So these are the things that you may feel that you're a gifted land, gifted country. Then when it comes to labor, a skilled labor, you can take Germany for example. Most of them are engineers. Even Greek, when you go, Greek is naturally they are architectures right from the beginning. Even in those thousands of years back, they built those structures. Maybe it is flown in the blood, and even after generations of generations, you still feel the people from Greece or that part of region are naturally architectures. And you can say infrastructure, again, the landscape that you have naturally. You don't have to break mountains to make roads. You don't have to spend you know money on this. I'm not saying it is artificially built, but you don't have to spend more money. It is naturally sort of flat lands, well landscaped, ready to use for civilized societies. These things. Then necessity to compete in given industry. Like I've told you, Germany, if German people coming into the automobile industry, you still find people are pretty good at it. You name it, the Mercedes, the Volvo, then many companies. So when you go to Italy, Ferrari is Italian company. The If you want to particularly, I would suggest you watch Ford versus Ferrari. This movie tells you a story about how Ford and Ferrari fought with each other in terms of their ethics, in terms of their capitalism, in terms of their generations after generations leading a company. What comes as a privilege to certain companies, what comes as a hard work to certain companies, certain CEOs. So these things you could see it very, the movie director has depicted very well. I suggest you, if you find time, you watch this movie, you will understand it. So certain things comes as gifted. So this is what Michael Porter say in the factor conditions. And what we're trying to cover here is, if a company has to become successful in his country along with the other countries, what are the factors needs to be there with that company or with that organization? That's what we are discussing. The first thing is, the company needs to have certain point of gifted land or gifted labor or gifted infrastructure. This is what he says here. That is true. Uh, once we discuss all these, or you read certain books, you will understand this. So that is one thing. And yeah, I can give you another example for this skilled labor. US Any software related company, organization, or a CEO was born in US or from coming from US. Is this a gifted art, gifted by the God to them? You never know. Or the government helped the society or public to learn this. Yes, I agree with that. So that's why in the fifth point we will discuss about government. Yeah. So most of the companies, you take any MNC, any software or information technology related companies or entrepreneurs, you will see that they are from US, America, United Nations. Why this? So you can say, yeah, they are gifted, or you can say government has provided the platform to them. Government has done most of the given them funds to do research and development. They invest a lot of it. They invest more money into it. Yes, I agree. Here, rather saying they are gifted or naturally come to them, I would say they are they are having a vision. Like we used to see touch screens in back in 1980s in Hollywood movies. Now it has come to a reality. So they have shown in the movies. Uh, I mean, other people did not catch it. Though we have, you can say many engineers, scientists from across the country, across the globe, have gone joined American companies. So talent is coming from everywhere, but the government is helping only in US. This is vice versa. You can discuss. Yeah, you take Hollywood movies. Why every Hollywood movie is coming from the famous Hollywood movie, action movie, scientific, sci-fi films? Why only they make? Of course, many UK countries make, but when we get to know only get to remember the US producers or movie makers give you these movies. Yeah, then the demand conditions. This is the second point or the second determinant that Michael Porter tells you. You should have this as well. You should have this factor in your company or organization. The nature of home market demand for industries, product or services. This literally meaning if you happen to be a Chinese company or if you happen to be a German company, if you happen to be a Greece or Italian company, one thing you should have is the vigorous demand, the vigorous competition in your own country, in your own geographical space. That means I'll tell you why Germans, Italians make faster cars. In German, you can move faster. There is no limit that you cannot cross 80 kilometers, 80 miles per hour, or 100 miles. There are certain traffic rules, but not like any other country. Maybe that is again government is contributing with this with these points with these laws to help automaker to make a faster car which you would not find it anywhere in the world. So this way the demand is more. And in Germany, everybody try to see who's making a faster car. So this way, demand you should have a demand in your own country. If you do not have the vigorous pressure from people, from government, from market, from your own CEOs, you will not make better or you will not fine tune your product or service. This is what has happened to the developed countries, people are not getting settled with normal products. People are not getting satisfied with whatever you're giving. So every day they come with new demand. So they put pressure on you. So every now and then your organization or R&D team goes into the market and tests people's feelings, try to see the meter of the satisfaction of the people, the existing customers or upcoming customers. They would study this one or the other way. So that time your you know investing companies would come and talk to your CEO. CEO comes and talks to your marketing and sales or production manager. Production manager comes and tells you. That can be that can be fine tuning your product or coming bringing new innovations into your product or service. This is why the Mercedes or Volvo, they never compromise on the quality. I can this is the demand. I mean, this is what he's saying here. Home market demand for the industry's product or service. That is why this is subtitled as demand conditions. In the factor conditions, previously we studied about the factors that comes to you as a gifted. That can be labor, that can be the natural resources, or that can be infrastructure or the capital. Maybe your government is developed and they have put a lot of money allotted in the budget for you to make innovations. So here he's talking about after making all these products and services, you should have the demand in your market. So your people should be coming forward to buy and ask you to give me more. This is happening in all the developed countries. You may you may wonder in your mind that why this is happening, why I'm getting all the examples of developed countries. I'll tell you later. So home demand you should have. Japan, if I remember, in Japan it's a lot of humid and people have to go through a lot of heat in the middle class or lower middle class uh, citizens or residents of Japan. So what they do, they wanted ACs to air condition their houses, but they were not able to pay more money for the ACs which were available, air conditions which were available in the market. So some companies studied it and came up with very a component, very a small sized and cost effective air conditions dedicated to the people who cannot afford the market of the luxury air conditions. So people started buying it, not only in Japan. After this, everybody wanted to buy the small and pocket sized, the very affordable, we can say, affordable air conditions for the market which was not able to buy the typical air conditions which is dedicated to the luxury market. So here, once you get into this, your R&D team or your production team overall, you're dedicated your products to the significant market, then it is cost effective, then yes, there is a market and nobody can make this. You should understand this as well. Like Germans, like Italians, nobody can make the faster cars. Yes, there are a couple of companies in US. That's why I've told you to watch uh, Ford versus Ferrari, Christian Bale and Damn Matt. You watch this movie, you will understand the what sort of politics will be inside. It's not that you cannot make, but you can make, but still you are you are into certain comfortable zone, then you cannot move. There is a hierarchy, so you cannot directly go and move. They do not believe whether the market is going to buy your cars or not. So this applies to any product or service. Like I was saying, so you should have demand. You should have demand in your country. If you do not have a demand in your own country at that point of time, Michael E. Porter, the professor from Harvard Business School, he speaks in his book. He says that it will take decades for you to, uh, come into the market, to scale up your business, for your government to utilize this and scale up the economy. This has happened true to India. Though Infosys Wipro started back in 70s in India, we did not have the demand here. The CEO, Mr. Narayana Murthy, says in one of his interviews, many interviews, he says that, see, we understood the market, we studied this for about 6 months and 8 months, and we understood that there was no demand in our market. So you went to US, UK, and spoke to them. He spoke to everybody, IBM, whoever those time, Microsoft. Microsoft wasn't there, but IBM, yeah, IBM and other few technology uh, bigwigs. He spoke and he got the orders. So he used to supply his hardware and the software consulting or the coding stuff to US market and UK market, not to the Indian market. US had the demand over there in US. So Apple has come up. Microsoft, they were people to buy. India did not have, though we had very genuine, I mean, very mega stars in this industry, I should say. I mean, because they had a vision on those times. So how many years it took? It took almost 3 decades for them to come into the market and say that we are Infosys. Now it is a globalized company. It has become true according to Michael Porter's. Those are the very two, three great examples for this. So demand in your own country is important. So the diamonds, the Michael Porter's four factors, the determinants that he's talking about. One is factor conditions. The second one is demand conditions in your own country. Later you can move on. If you do not have it, will take time. That has come true in the case of Infosys, Wipro, and the third factor that he says that you should have is related and supporting industries in your own country. You should have. That is, if you want me to elaborate the existence or presence, existence or absence in the nation of supplier industries and other related industries that are internationally competitive. Here he says when you have a company. Again, I will give you Germany's automakers example. Here, SAP and Siemens, yeah, SAP and Siemens from German. So you can say they have helped technologically. They have helped Mercedes and other super fast car makers. They provided a lot of technology, coding. They I believe they had artificial engineering, sort of not in the way that is available now, but they used to have the same formula. They used to help them. So it is related, supporting industry. Siemens and SAP are different companies, different industry, uh, players, but still they helped the fast cars or these companies. Likewise, they started implementing technology coming as a combination into the market. That is a win-win situation to both. In Italy, we can say there were many shoemaking companies. So shoemaker used to go to the leather manufacturer, or somebody who designs and uh, gives it in such a way that fits according to the market demand and market desire of designs. They have helped. So before this shoemaker goes into his office and appeal a request or demand for certain product, he used to get it ready. Reason being is he used to say, even I'm reading the market and I know that you would come up with this idea, so uh, you would come up with this requirement, so I have this product ready for you. So this is related, somebody who is a partner in making a product or services with your company, and he is being supportive. He's not trying to say that though he knows what exactly you ask and your requirement, he did not go to market to produce the same product. So this is being supportive, or business ethics, or whatever you can say. This is something that you should have as a related and supporting industries in your own industry. This way, what people nowadays, you can see, even back 2 3 decades ago, people used to Coca-Cola, I can say, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, every, I mean, Fanta. They have many diversification in the beverage uh, company, but they compete with each other. That means they are helping with each other. In the competition terms, we can discuss in a different topic, but how they help each other. People who are buying Fanta tell you that, see, I want this taste, I want this sort of bottle, I want it in a packaged can that I can carry, that I can take wherever I want to. So Coca-Cola has its own customers. Though it is the same company, you have diversified and created your own, like, the supporting related and supporting industry, a supporting player, this way. And how you become innovative in this? We can say, uh, I've read it in the 1990s and to 19 up to 95, 97. America used to produce the electronic components that can be for Walkmans and type recorders and uh, televisions. So they found it later on, as the company grows and the industry grew. They thought, these companies in the industry thought, the labor is not cost effective and the skill is not available. So they used to demand more salaries, and it used to cost them a lot. The break even was not happening. What US did is, they have outsourced this component making to Taiwan back in 90s and 95. But Japan has found this as an opportunity. What they did, they started making the electronic components. That is why even Japanese televisions, even now, they are famous for their musical instruments like guitar, non-electronic. So they are famous. Reason being is this. So they have started making these components with integrated technology. They have automated this. So labor, all they need was one machine designed and uh, taught in such a way that I need this product 1 hour. You throw me 10 products or 20 products of this. So they have implemented the automation. They go back to, they've signed an agreement, the US, America. They went back to the same sheds, same industrial fields where US has, set aside, and they left this. They quit. So these guys went to the same ship in same fields, the same sheds, started their own companies. Even now you would find, uh, I forgot, California, I don't know, but yeah, this is there in many books. Many economists write this. So this is how you find an opportunity out of, what do you say, a calamity or situation. Like after World War Second, many companies thought we cannot do business and people not afford to buy the product that we sell. Italian companies, the especially bathroom fittings and other sanitary uh, components, even now they are famous. You see, Italian lights are famous. Italian uh, designer lights are famous. Even now, Italian bathroom fittings are famous. Reason being is they found the market, just like the Japanese. They invented something. They found the demand, but demand was there even in Italy. Post World War Two, so whichever company you see, first they have provided these products to their own country people. So demand was there. Then later on they moved to different countries, and they never compromised on the quality. That is how over the years they have become, they found out, they got the competitive advantages. Like we discussed, the competitive advantages. These are the competitive advantages. How do you get it? You have your customers, like teachers, they would tell you, I want more, I'm not satisfied with this, and you have more competitors inside. That we discuss here. So internationally competitive, yeah, as I've told you, the US case. So they never compromise on this, but still they did not go to poor skilled or non-skilled labor. They have implemented technology, so they got the same products, they sold it, and now one of the bigger companies who provides the electronic gadgets, electronic components or spare parts to the world. That is of Japan founded. So the next example that I would, the next factor that we need to discuss about is forum strategy and structure and rivalry. This is pretty interesting. The conditions in the nation or your country governing how companies are created, organized, and managed, as well as the nature of domestic rivalry. Here he says the firm strategy. Michael Porter, in one of his startup discussions, he says that he asked, I mean, it was a round table. He asked many, I mean, organization, entrepreneurial representatives, they're big companies. He asked, what is strategy? I've heard people saying strategy is having a goal, going to UK, I mean UK, US. We are now in these regional uh, countries. Now we want to move to this country particularly. He says that's not strategy. Strategy is very specific. Strategy is holistic. Strategy is strategy is not a goal. Goal is assumption. Okay, goal is aspiration. Like you want to become a $1 billion company. That's aspiration, desire, not a strategy. Strategy is immediately that will help you get into the action. That is strategy. And here Michael Porter says, and he said this 30, 40 years ago. Just imagine. He says firm strategy. That means you should know what you do. You should be there on your table. Action oriented formulas. This you should have. Then you should have a structure. Structure is non. You should not assume that, okay, we would do this, we would do that. You should have a structure which you can mathematically measure, like how many products you want to produce, what exactly you want to produce, where is the market. I mean, does market really needs you? Do they have this demand? Once you go to the market, is there a way that any other company can become your copycats, can make these products and services easily? So you should have this strategy and structure, and after all this, you should have a rivalry in your own country. Like I've told you, see why all the famous footballers come from Brazil and football playing nations. Though India has, US have, then you have many countries from Asia like China. China is one of the top scoring Olympic gold medalists. So why they not becoming a famous football team? Reason being is you should have a competition inside your country. So your footballers do not have a competition. Brazil has, though it is a developing country, they have strong skilled mentally, uh, ethically, and they have more than anything they have passion. They want to be football players. They want better players to watch. That is why, since the beginning, since its inception, we have Pele, you have many bigger players coming from that place. Likewise, rivalry. Likewise, I have told you why we get Apple founder, then why we have Microsoft, why we have Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, all these companies from one country. Why? You must have seen movies that Steve Jobs and uh, the Microsoft founder, how they fought in their college days, how competent they were. I mean, how they used to compete. You may see in tech startups, tech exhibitions. They go, they will have stalls. Though back in 70s, 70, 72, 75, 80s, they used to go to stalls. And these, I mean, they were dropout kids from the Harvard. Why? Because they had locally in their own country, they had competition that we do not have here. Why India has only Wipro, Infosys, Narayan Murthy, Premji, only these guys? Why? I mean, currently we have many. Why not in those days? Those days we had very less number people finding startup companies, people finding technology based companies. Even the government's contribution was very less, very less. Though they had ambitions, the resources were not good. This applies to any developed country or in developing country or underdeveloped country. This is not the same case with the developed countries. England, Germany, Italy, Spain, US, Canada, certain countries in North America, African countries, we do not. Reason being is they are, we should say they are cursed. These are gifted naturally, but I mean there is discrimination against their color, creed, caste. So these countries are cursed, I should say. They are not gifted. So these are the good examples. You're not a you don't have many companies coming from, or many successful companies, MNCs coming from. Not many. I mean, you can literally no numbers at all. You don't get to see. So socially, spiritually, economically, they are vulnerable. So this is the reason. So he says very important here is the rivalry. You should have a rivalry. Germany, the car making company, I mean companies, they have hell lot of competition between them. They compete there, and when they come to the international market, it is easy for them because they have done all the homework. They have done all the uh, technology innovations, vigorous testing, rejection. They've gone through all this and they have sustained. They have come to the international market and nobody can win over them. Now they are brand. They are reputed. So this is what happens. So there is one saying. My professors used to say that when you cannot, when you cannot, I mean, sustain in your own country, you cannot sustain anywhere. Sustain, win the people in your local market, then move on. So the more objections, the more rejections, the vigorous competition you would find in your own country, it is really helpful. You should not give up. They will tell you something and keep working on it, keep working on it, keep working on it. One fine day, you will be there. So these are the points or the determinants that Porter's diamond national advantages or competitive advantage that you would find while going through this. And like I've told you, when I started, I've told you that there is critics also against his formula. They say that uh, why all these companies are from the developed countries. If we have to implement this and study this developing country or underdeveloped country, how do we do this? This is not helping. This is helping only certain rich countries. Of course, I don't know what he's also told. India is a developing country, but still, as I've told you, he's applied this. He says that it will take decades for you to get this advantage, but you will set a benchmark. You will set a goal or a set target for others to follow up. So that's what happened with Infosys and Wipro's case. Likewise, I mean, you have many countries. You can study them when we go deeper. But this is most of it. So when you understand this, you apply this when you're thinking about some product or service to start it off. You have to go through this, all right? Or when you analyzing certain companies, certain brands, whether they are competitive, whether they have all that, whether they are a reputed MNC company or a reputed brand, what qualities they should have to test it, to know it, whether they have gone through all this, whether they deserve to be entitled as a brand across the globe. You can apply this and see. Yeah. So that is for the day. That is for the session. In the next session, we would continue with the subsequent content and the topics to be covered. Hope you enjoy this. Thank you very much. If you have any feedbacks or you need anything in specific, you can text me back. Yeah. Thank you very much. You have a nice day ahead.